Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown featuring Lino Banksy here, also known as Arcadius, bringing the glorious Balthazar Gelt up against LP's very own Dragor Rosso, which is a very badass name indeed, coming with the mighty Dowie. Now this is generally considered a very Dowie favoured matchup, so it'll be interesting to see how the Empire have attempted to counter this. Now it looks like for the front line, it looks like they actually have a mixture of handgunners in the front line, which is quite interesting. I suppose certainly expecting to be the ones to pressure the Dowie rather than the other way around. So we have a mixture of spearmen and handgunners dotted all the way along in a nice battle line here. Handgunners, of course, decent AP, fantastic for taking down the Dwarfs here. We do also have some long-range troops. We have great cannons. It looks like 3 of which is certainly good. Great range on them as well. Much better range than the normal Dwarf cannon. However, they do lack the accuracy, so Dwarf cannons will outtrade them quite effectively. We also have the Sunmaker here, Regiment of Renowned Hellstorm Rocket Battery. Interesting to see this picked. It is armor piercing and anti-infantry, so I have to see how much damage it can indeed do. Now for Hero Core, we do have a double Witch Hunter. Now Witch Hunters are actually pretty damn good in this matchup. Not only do they bring armor piercing missiles, they come with Accusation, which does immune minus 30 armor, minus 24 melee defense, and minus 22% missile resistance on an enemy. Going to allow those handgunners to trade very effectively up against the dwarf forces. Now for the Lordship, of course, as we said earlier on, we do have the mighty Balthazar Gelt up on top of his Pegasus here. This is one of the matchups where I think he does shine compared to someone like the Franzmeister. Franz, big target, likely to get shot out of the sky. So, of course, we do have the Staff of Valanis, Arcane Conduit. We also have the Golden Hounds, interesting enough to see, quite like the bound ability from Orion. We have Plague of Rust, of course, as well as Searing Doom. So a good little toolkit indeed. It looks like in Deep Reserve as well, also a Deep Vanguard. Of course, Arcadius is a big fan of the grenade launchers, and he does have 2 of those bad boys here. They are anti-infantry, and of course, Dwarves mainly bring infantry, apart from gyrocopters and the like. Looks like the first rocket battery is forming. Now, for the forces of the Dwarfs in the front line, he's gone cheap and cheerful. Miners with blasting charges will decimate state troops rather effectively, mainly due to those blasting charges. We even have Ekrund miners leading the battle line. And then the secondary line, we do have Dwarf Warriors with great weapons dotted around, attempting to aid and help support the miners in the front line, as well as a couple of units of Longbeards as well, supporting the left-hand side here. We do have a couple units of Thunderers, should easily be able to out-trade the Empire ones, but with those accusations, you never know. Looks like they are getting some ballistic calibrations on them, though, plus 60 accuracy and 20% reload skill. That, of course, is going to be coming from this Master Engineer down here, who has squatted himself quite nicely next to double cannon, should allow them to trade very effectively up against the Empire artillery pieces. Now in Deep Reserve, we do have double Slayers, no Dragonbacks, but these guys should be able to protect the cannons rather nicely and help pressure and kind of push away enemy cavalry, although there isn't too much of that today. And we also, for leadership to round out, have a Rune Lord on top of the Anvil of Doom, which is a really cool looking model here. I hope they do bring in the special character who has one at some point. And for this mighty contraption, he's going to be coming in with Master Rune of Negation, as well as Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin. We even have the Gatekeeper's Belt, and it looks like Master Rune of Grungy as well, given that 20% missile resistance to all nearby troops is going to be very powerful indeed. Including that magic resistance may come in handy as well. So without further ado, guys, let's get this battle underway. Outriders are sneaking into the back line. It's going to be interesting to see if they actually try to obliterate the Slayers quite quickly. I can see those grenade launchers doing some pretty decent work. Looks like the cannons are single shooting rather than kind of both shooting at one great cannon, which I think is a tiny bit of a mistake. I like to personally kind of focus fire, so you delete this cannon with both your cannons, then you move on to the next one. But still, it looks like he's managed to take them down both a cannon piece, which is pretty good work. Grenade launchers are firing into the back lines, shooting into the trees, but still going to be getting some good damage here onto the Slayers, who of course have 0 armor, so will be suffering quite badly. Hellstorm Rocket Battery doing some pretty decent damage here to the cannon crew. It looks like we have some Searing Doom coming in as well, doing massive damage to the crewmen, but still 2 artillery pieces online. Grenade launchers are now unleashing hell upon the Slayers. Going to have to whirl away though, and trying to escape as these Slayers lift their axes and kind of roar and chase after them here. Hellstorm Rocket Battery is switching targets consistently, which is really good to see, to ensure that the opponent can't kind of micro-dodge it. And massive damage coming in from this Sunmaker here. Is it Sunmaker or is it the standard one? I forget. No, it is indeed the Sunmaker. They're doing some massive damage to the Sunmaker there, which is good to see. Balthasar Gelt has taken a little bit of damage, but he is wrapped all the way up and around here to help support the double Outriders. And of course, the Dwarfs don't really have anything to catch this, rather sitting back in a more defensive pocket. It looks like it's not going too terribly for them to trade, as they have managed to force off one of the great cannons. And it looks like the other cannon will be next. However, another Syrian Doom comes down, mainly doing damage to the crew here. As you can see, both of these still have 2 cannons left, which is still going to be more than a match here for this last great cannon, which is down to just the 1 piece. Though it looks like the handgunners are pushing up now, getting ready to trade fire where possible. Miners are positioned nicely, though, however, to ensure that they take the damage rather than the enemy Thunderers. Balthasar Gelt has taken a few volleys here, and he's incredibly squishy, so he is down to about half health here and having to fall back and away. Outriders as well, kind of being harassed by miners, so being forced up and around to try and get a better contact once more. Blast and charges have been wasted here on top of a Witch Hunter. You don't normally want to focus down a character like this, but rather focus down kind of units and, chuck them onto the handguns and stuff would be much better. But still, doing a little bit of damage to the Witch Hunter is certainly good work as well. Hellstorm Rocket Battery now focus down the Ekrund Miners, who have been hit by an accusation here, lowering all their defensive stats as well, as more miners are just kind of being roasted here, and I don't think the Dwarfs really know what to do in this situation, kind of being outshot. However, let's see, we still have 1 cannon there and 1 cannon here, and they have forced off the great cannons though for the most part. Looks like they're all pretty much out of pieces, and the Hellstorm as well is nearly out of ammunition, so both forces will be moving into contact relatively soon, as Balthasar Gelt still kind of flirts in the background there. Looks like the cannons have in fact decided to push up. Master Engineer is currently shooting into the Outriders with grenade launchers as this skirmish phase does continue. Getting some pretty good damage. Here's his little rifle. Can sometimes struggle to get line of sight, but being placed on top of this hill, he should be able to, whip in some shots and take down some of those pesky Empire forces. Hellstorm Rocket Battery continuing to do massive damage straight out of the gate, but never count the Dowie out. You see them take a lot of punishment sometimes early on like this, and then they just manage to grind through. But 71 kills on the Sunmaker, certainly some pretty impressive stuff. And as you can see, the Empire quite happy just to send in their handguns in here. Don't even need the support of the Spearmen at the moment, as there is nothing that will be able to catch them. Dwarf Warriors with Great Weapons are now chasing away the Witch Hunter. You can simply strut away and 360 no scope and all that good stuff. Looks like the cannons do have the Master Rune of Negation, keep them alive. Here are some Golden Hounds do dart through their numbers, and even the handgunners have now managed to push up into range as well. Of course, the Rune Lord is going to be given that lovely protection to everyone nearby. Outriders continue to dart around this right-hand side, kind of looking for key targets as the Dwarfs decide to hold their position for now, just chasing with 1 or 2 units, and they are pushing back the handgunners at least, but I think they do need to advance very soon as a kind of organised force here, rather than they clearly want to hold this hill, but with all the kind of cannons and stuff gone, I think they need to pressure a little bit more. Master Engineer is up to 12 kills now, doing his best to hold back the Empire threat. He can also focus on the Witch Hunters as well relatively effectively. Handgunners have now taken some blasting charges to the face, which is good work by the Ekrund Miners. Only 2 kills, but some decent HP damage, as they do Kobe some more of these into the back of these handguns. And you can see the massive damage they do, despite the fact they're down to such low numbers here as 20. So getting the miners on the handgunners is a pretty good play here, because apart from that, they're kind of getting a little bit picked apart. 1 cannon is still alive and active. It looks like there's 1 great cannon to oppose them. And apart from that, Sunmaker is over here, and we still have 3 great cannons on the left. Yeah, the Dwarfs have to advance here. It's the only way I think they're going to get back into this game. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit here while we wait for the main engagement to actually kick off, as Outriders are still looping around the back, and just Empire pressuring from all sides, making use of their cannons, trying to get as much value as possible. Syrian Doom does pop down on some handgunners there as well, as the Dwarfs refuse to move from this hill. They really want to hold it. And it looks like the cannon is still firing, and now the Dwarfs do decide that now is the time, now is the hour, we must ride forward and try to take this fight to the Empire forces. In the back lines, we do have miners now being out-skirmished, of course, by the Outriders, although if they do get in range for a little bit too long, this is going to happen. Blasting charges will come in, and many a horse shall fall. Some nice HP does come down. No horses actually fell there after I said that, but they took some decent damage, as the miners are being pushed forward towards handgunners now as well. They're one of the most cheap and cheerful units in the Dwarf roster, so if they're taking the damage, at least not any more of their key units are. If they get close enough, those blasting charges can do some pretty impressive work. Rune Lord is dancing around as well, and Balthazar Gelt has taken a pretty healthy chunk of damage. Thunderers once again realigning their ranks to unleash some shots upon the Golden Boy himself. As you can see, his health is going to drop pretty quick, only 50 armor. You know, isn't going to be kind of crazy powerful for him, though he does come in with some missile resistance, of course. He's going to drop in a Searing Doom once more, as he's done consistently so far, only up to 4 kills, but good HP damage all round. And you can see over here, miners have finally got within blasting charge range of some handgunners, doing some pretty good damage, and the Dwarfs still a threat here. They can definitely kind of pull back this game if they continue to push forward, and even some Slayers have somehow gotten on top of a Great Cannon here. Absolutely legged it across the field and slaughtering the Great Cannon crew. However, the Outriders with grenade launchers going to do some fantastic damage, and if you've seen any Empire replays on this channel, you know I'm a big fan of grenade launchers. I think they do some really decent work, but the Slayers did manage to shut down that Great Cannon, which is some pretty good value, and of course they're unbreakable, so they can chase it to the end here. Rune Lord as well is going to be forcing back this Witch Hunter as fast as possible. In the far side, miners have used up all their blasting charges, now finally forcing off some of the handgunners, as Dwarf Warriors with Grey Weapons chase some over in the flank here as well. And it's not a good day if you're a Dwarf and you're having to do some cross-country sprinting across the battlefield to try and hunt down your opponent, as the Empire is simply pulling back here. Looks like some more Slayers as well have gone into the back lines trying to shut down the Sunmaker crew, but it's out of ammunition and the Slayers are going to be going down here, it does seem. So very slow game all round, although the Dwarfs are now pushing forward, and once again getting decent shots on Balthazar Gelt, and enemy with handguns as well have decent ammunition, and the Dwarfs are pretty ragged at this point. In the distance, miners as well still chasing down handgunners, and it looks like the Dwarf Warriors have been hit with that accusation, of course. The Witch Hunter yelling all kinds of abuse at them and shooting in with his pistol, going lovely down the line here as well. One shot to get a quad there. 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 5. Was that 6 even? 5 or 6 dead Dowie. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 6 dead Dowie in 1 bullet. What a mighty shot from the Witch Hunter indeed. Miners are now being forced off, and things are looking a little bleak for the Dowie. I think certainly kind of sat back far too long at the beginning, but Longbeard's still pretty healthy, and if they can force off all these range units like they are doing, these Longbeards can easily slaughter kind of countless spearmen for the most part, although Witch Hunters are here as well. The remaining Slayers are coming back once again to try and shut down Great Cannon crew, but Outriders are continuing to pester the Slayers where possible. Looks like even darting into combat here as well, trying to run over some of those Slayers, although some of them will get kills, no doubt, to fulfill their Slayer oath, as the Rune Lord even floats over here as well. Longbeards and Dwarf Warriors with Great Weapons are still looking rather healthy, as the handgunners are being forced out and running for the hills, and these poor Dwarves have been pumping their Dwarven legs quite a considerable amount of time. Master Engineer is darting forward as well, lifting his mighty rifle, looking to get some decent kills. Probably should be focusing on Balthazar Gelt where possible. He's down to just 823 health, so if he can be finished off here, perhaps there is hope yet for the forces of Clan Ungrund and the Dowie. You can see Great Cannon crew is being sacrificed now to stop the Dwarf Warriors in their tracks and allow the handgunners to unleash some holy hell upon them. Looks like we actually have 2 units who are going to be unloading some lead before once again fleeing for the hills. And it's been a bit of a cat and mouse affair, with the Empire consistently falling back, dragging the enemy into spearmen and other units, and allowing the handgunners to simply turn, shoot and roast to the Dwarves, as they clearly are doing here. Outriders with grenade launchers do launch some shots into the Dwarf Warriors, and it's just a bit of a messy engagement all around. I mean, the Dwarfs are slowly catching up and getting some kills, but there's been a kind of real kite game coming in by the Empire all around so far. Sunmaker is being harassed here by the Master Engineer, who's actually popped entrench on him, which is kind of funny. So he can't move, but he does gain a load of physical resistance and the like. With that mighty hammer, he is going to be clobbering some of those pesky manlins with his mighty hammer, and did a pretty decent job of it as well. He can even go toe to that Witch Hunter relatively well. Thunderers now finally trying to get some retribution and revenge, are going to be firing shots into the handgunners, although they are currently heavily outnumbered. Not looking too great for them at all. We look across the entire battlefield with a load of Dwarf units who are completely shattered or broken, running for the hills. Rune Lord is happily clearing through troops when he does indeed catch them. Outriders with grenade launchers now firing into the rear of the Longbeards. It's going to certainly be getting some decent damage here, as the grenade launchers slowly peeling down and doing damage to them. Plague of Rust has been popped as well. Now, Plague of Rust combined with grenade launchers is a certainly deadly combination, and the Longbeards falling in droves now, as their armour does kind of wither around them, and they get dragged down here. Even the Witch Hunter is going to be coming in here to have a royal good time. Now, the Empire have had to pay in a decent amount of blood. You can see a lot of the spearmen, again, rather haggard and pushed off here. And handgunners as well have even taken a considerable amount of damage. Rune Lord as well looking pretty healthy. Balthazar Gelt down just to 600 health. Thunderers may be lining some shots up here. Hard to see though. I think they may be, distracted by this hill, which is a bit of a problem. Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin has been popped on the Gelt Meister, and he does get into the air. And the Thunderers do unleash some shots. Looks like they're kind of like clay pigeon shooting here. Shooting upwards into the Geltmeister. Down to just 390 health. Let's see if they can get another 1 or 2 volleys off. Allegedly, they're obstructed. Maybe they have a different target order at the moment. But it looks like Gelt has been shot again here. Down to just 16 health. And Gelt could be gone here. And the balance of power is in the favour of the Dowie, despite the huge amount of damage they have taken, showing how much of a tough matchup this is for the Empires. It looks like the Witch Hunter as well is being forced back here by the mighty Rune Lord. Master Rune of Negation has been popped on him, but there's still this big core of handgunners, and that is going to be a real problem for the Dwarfs to deal with. Outriser with grenade launchers are running low on ammunition as well at this point, as some Longbeards, or these now Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, do return to the fray, and it looks like the hero core of the Dowie may try to carry the day, but the Rune Lord is now getting absolutely obliterated by the triple handgunners. Despite his missile resistance and all that good stuff, he is still a heavily armoured dwarf, and if he breaks here, he's certainly going to get chased off the battlefield as well, and I think that will be GG's in the Empire favour. Master Engineer is now firing down onto the handgunners. Up to 56 kills is certainly nothing to scoff at, even though I suppose some of them were artillery pieces. Although it looks like he's now actually aiming at the Outriders with grenade launchers instead. Rune Lord has been broken and forced back here, and I think that is going to be game. Yes, we have some units of dwarves in the distance, but they're simply not going to be able to get close enough to these handgunners. Although saying that, they are running a little low on ammunition. One unit has actually completely run out at this point. And the Master Engineer, trying his little best here, is going to be shooting in, trying to get some decent damage where he can. And yeah, Rune Lord, I simply think is going to be forced off, although it looks like some mighty Longbeards are going to be coming to his aid. If this Rune Lord can be saved, perhaps there is hope yet. The Longbeards do come crashing into the Spearmen, and Dwarf Warriors with great weapons as well may want to pop in here and assist, try and give the Rune Lord some time. And he actually rallies just inches away from the Spearmen. He's like, you know what, I'm not going to make my ancestors too grumpy. We are going to turn and engage in glorious hand-to-hand combat, and that's just what he does, turn around and running into the Spearmen here. Accusation has once again been popped on the Dwarf Warriors, and that's been a real clutch ability all game so far, helping them do some really good work. Master Engineer now being obliterated by the last shots of the handgunners. He does fire a few shots back as well, and this is kind of the last core of the Dwarfs, but there's still some Outrider grenade launchers left with a couple of volleys, 3 volleys in fact. With Accusation popped, these Dwarf Warriors are certainly going to be taking a huge amount of damage. And yeah, you can see they just break there. We do have a Master Rune of Negation popped, but just a second too late, probably waiting for it to come off cooldown here to actually save those Dwarf Warriors. Although the Witch Hunter here may be going down. There's double Witch Hunter trying their best to take down the Rune Lord. They are going to have to fall back here though, and they're both out of ammunition. Up to 91 and 65 kills though on Dwarfs is pretty ridiculous stuff. And it looks like it is simply the Rune Lord versus the world at this point, and the Empire is going to pull back and allow their handgunners to simply line up the target and obliterate him here. So handgunners do indeed advance, waiting to shoot down the Rune Lord, who's desperately trying to waddle over and kind of hunt down Witch Hunters and stuff and rally his troops, but the Outriders will simply bounce around and, crush any kind of dwarven resistance here. So it looks like it's going to be GG. We'll see if the Rune Lord can somehow pull it out. He's trying to juke back and forth, but with an Accusation popped on him, he's going to be taking quite a decent amount of damage here. And there's still a decent ammunition left on one of these as well. So it's going to be a Pyrrhic victory to the Empire. An incredibly strange game to cast in particular. Incredibly slow-paced. And, not too much happened. It was the Dwarfs got shot, they slowly advanced, and they got shot a little more. But still managed to drag it back to a pretty close game, managing to kill Balthazar Gelt, showing how squishy he is, and actually shutting down a lot of the Spearmen and handgunners alike. So very well played to both these players. Yeah, really weird game. The Dwarfs just got outshot at the start. but still somehow managed to make a game for it, even getting slayers into the back line, shutting down artillery pieces and the like. So yeah, very well played to these two chaps. Hope you guys enjoyed this peculiar game. If you did, feel free to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. And we may, hopefully, fingers crossed, be doing a stream later today to celebrate my birthday. My birthday is tomorrow, but we're currently moving house. I'm actually moving stuff like right now, basically. So I don't think I'm going to have time tomorrow because we'll be setting everything up. Don't know if we're going to have internet access and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be trying to do the stream today, hopefully at 6 PM GMT or British Standard Time. Maybe 7, but just keep an eye out on the channel for that. Anyway guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.